up, what's good? You are now tuned in to the Keys and Seeds podcast, where we discuss music, mental health, and spirituality from the perspective of Ken, the artist, as well as Ken, the person behind the art. And of course, if you support the pod, then you too are also Ken. Be sure to join the conversation and follow the pod at Keys X Seeds, as I have my sunflower seeds pod. And as always, knowledge and kindness is key. This is episode 9, and without further ado, let's jump into the episode. All right, y'all. So, welcome back to the pod. Welcome to episode 9, first and foremost. But, y'all, so first of all, I have on this hoodie that I really need to take off, but I'm not going to do the most and take the hoodie off. I also had this window open, but I'm like, as I'm recording, I should probably close this window so it's not picking up everything outside. So, one, it's hot as I'm recording this, and setting up the camera and moving the table and like just setting up everything to record, like that be taking a lot out of me. And it's like, yeah, I can take a break, but it's like I'd rather just jump into it now. And it's kind of hard, taking a break when you done already set up the camera and everything. So it's like, once the audio is going and the camera is going, it's like I gotta jump into it. So if I ever come on this mic and sound like out of breath or something, just know it be hot in here. And part of the reason why I be hot is because I'm doing the most, trying to make sure everything is set up and rolling and good. But I'm in good spirits besides that, other than, being hot and out of breath. And I do have my water. How many ounces is this? 73 ounces, according to the bottom of it. I have this little water bottle, but it's kind of like one of those big ones that you can use throughout the day. And I already drink a lot of water, but I want to be intentional about drinking more water. So I got this water bottle, and if you're tuning in visually, as you can see, or you probably can't see, but the water is literally like right at the bottom. So hopefully by the end of this episode, or if not by the end of this episode, by the end of the night, everything in this bottle will be gone. And I didn't just buy this bottle. I've been using this water bottle for a minute, but hopefully I don't gotta pee as I'm recording this. Because one thing about drinking water and being intentional about drinking more water, you're gonna be in the restroom every 2 seconds. There's no way around it. But it makes me feel good that, my insides and everything are, flushing out. And yeah, but like I said, welcome back to the pod. This is episode 9. 9 for me, as far as numerology goes, means the completion of a cycle. And the fact that this is episode 9 is very fitting, because I think I am about to complete the cycle of filming and recording episodes ahead of time before launching the pod. So if you've been following the pod up until this point, I have been very transparent about the fact that I'm recording these episodes before you guys are able to hear them. So right now, as I'm recording this episode, it is currently March 8th, and I plan to roll out these episodes that I've been, stacking up. I plan to roll these episodes out at the beginning of spring, so later this month. But because I plan on dropping episodes, one episode a week, by the time y'all hear this episode, it should be May, because I've already planned out, the release schedule based off of when I want to drop the first episode. And with that said, if this is episode 9, y'all should be tuning into this episode sometime around May. Specifically, May 14th. If I plan everything out correctly, you guys will be tuning into this episode May 14th. That is if you tune in on the day that I plan to drop this episode. And I also think it's kind of cool that with this being the last episode that I'm going to record for a while, after recording this episode, I'm going to take a break from recording and make sure, the rollout for these episodes goes smooth. Me announcing and launching the pod, me having content prepared to go hand in hand with these episodes. That's what I'm about to pivot into. So at the time of this recording, I don't know the next time I'm gonna record another episode, but it is my hope that after this episode, you guys will be able to tune into episodes closer to them being recorded in real time. Meaning, if I'm recording this episode right now in March and y'all not gonna tune into this until May, obviously a lot can happen within that window of time, because that's literally over a month of time that has passed, right? So by the time y'all tune into these episodes, of course they're still going to be relevant, but as I'm someone who's very intentional about my growth, and even when I am trying to have a balance between growing and living, life happens every day. You know what I'm saying? A lot can happen within that window of time. So I don't want to just get into the habit of just recording a whole bunch of episodes at once. And I do want to challenge myself to, record episodes per week. Or at least, just sooner to the time it will be dropping, if that makes sense. So, yeah. But as I was saying, though, I think it's really dope that this is the last episode that I'm going to record for a minute based off of when this episode plans to release. Because if this episode releases May 14th, like I have it planned and scheduled out, that will be the day after it being a year since I released my album, Kite Still Exists. So I'm going to plug in my album, Kite Still Exists. At the time of this recording, the deluxe is being processed to release for the second time on all platforms. This is my first time going through United Masters, and the first time it uploaded, the sound quality and everything just sounded terrible, and I don't know how that happened. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just pull this. Let me look at all of the mixes, and then let me re-upload it. And so I did that, and at the time of this recording, the deluxe is currently scheduled to release March 17th, I believe, which is 317 Day. Shout out to my city. So that's also kind of cool. But yeah, hopefully by the time you guys are tuning into this, the deluxe will be re-released on all platforms and up to stay. And, the quality and everything is sounding good. But what else can I say? I think that's pretty much it, though. This episode, though, I know I want to talk about being present, being more present, being content with where you currently are, being content with the current version of yourself, and with that, knowing who you are and not allowing the world or people within it tell you who you are. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to title this episode Honoring Your Now. So, yeah, as I said before, it's my intention to make every episode sort of a build upon the previous episode. Of course, there's going to be some oddball episodes that has nothing to do with the previous episode. But with the previous episode that I recorded, episode 8, I was speaking about things that I want to cut out, right? And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, that was an episode that I didn't want to do. And it was an episode that I did because I know God was pushing me to do it. And I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to come across as a hypocrite. And I also don't want to ever come on this pod coming across as me being holier than thou, for lack of better words. So what I mean by that, I didn't want to do episode 8 because I was speaking about things that I want to cut out. And I'm like, how am I going to sit here and record a pod about things that I'm cutting out of my life when I know that after I stop recording this episode, I'm probably still going to continue doing the exact things that I said I'm cutting out. In full transparency, after I stopped recording the previous episode, I definitely still engaged in the things that I said I was cutting out. Am I proud of myself? No. But am I going to beat myself up about it? No. I'm learning how to give myself grace, and I'm learning to keep in mind that although my mind knows what's best and knows what's right and wants to do better, sometimes my heart and my actions is not going to always align with that. And that's okay. That is okay. And even after I still did what I did, I still stood on what I said to y'all in that episode. So if you haven't listened to that episode or tuned into that episode, I really advise you to listen to that episode first. But as y'all know, I said that I wanted to cut out smoking and I wanted to stop spending my money unnecessarily, especially on fast food. Right after recording that episode, I still smoked and I still bought fast food. And what makes me buying the fast food worse is the fact that I bought the fast food after leaving the grocery store to go grocery shopping. When I know I could have went home, put away them groceries, and then make something that I bought at the grocery store. But also, too, with that, I told y'all I also want to improve my diet and not eat, processed foods in general. But like I told y'all, I don't know how to cook, so at least right now. So even though I want to cut out, processed foods and, frozen foods, things that's already made, it's like, it's really no way around that right now unless, I learn how to cook. But even if I do learn how to cook, not if, but when, it's like, I'm not going to learn how to cook an array of things overnight, right? So, yeah, there's really no way around the whole, what I'm buying at the grocery store. But I know I didn't need to go buy that fast food that I ended up buying. And what's crazy is as I was eating it, like literally first few bites, I was like, why am I eating this? Like, literally did not want to eat it. But I was like, you know what? I spent my money on it. This is what I said I wanted. And I'm hungry. So I'm not about to waste it. So I still ate the food. But literally, like, I ate maybe like 95% of it. And that's important to say because I still didn't even finish all of what I bought. Like, I had maybe like 2 bites left of the food, and I was just like, I literally cannot stomach this. Even though I ate most of it already, like, I'm literally not about to finish this, and I threw it away. And then with the smoking, I still was like, I don't like how this makes me feel. Literally was smoking with my love. And, you know, like, smoking is intimate, right? So it's like, he was smoking, and what's crazy is he's been holding me accountable. Like, babe, you said you was done smoking. Like, I'm about to hold you accountable to that. And I'm like, of course, you know, Like, I appreciate the fact that you holding me accountable, but still past that. And he was like, all right, like, if you want to smoke, like, I'll still pass it to you. But after today, like, I'm not passing anything to you. If you smoke, that's on you. But it won't be because I passed something to you. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. But literally, like, I don't know how many times he passed it to me, but, like, I don't know. I hit it maybe like 2-3 times. And I was just like, yeah, nah. I'm cool. Like, literally was like high off like the first hit of the pass. And I'm like, okay. Not only is my tolerance changing, but also too, just in general, I'm just feeling like I don't have like a desire, like a true desire. Like, what I'm doing is kind of just like out of habit and because it's accessible and it's in front of me. But it's like now I really am reaching a point where I'm like, things that I used to do, I just would rather not do anymore. And like, it's so crazy for me to say because, especially out loud on this pod, because I'm like, God, don't have me come on this mic and say, oh, I'm going to cut this out. Oh, I'm going to cut this out. Knowing good and well after recording the episode, I'm going to struggle with cutting it out. But I'm like, I don't even think I'm really going to struggle for real. Of course, temptation is still going to be there, but I feel like I had to still do those things after recording the episode so I can see like, yeah, nah, this is why I want to cut it out because my feelings haven't changed. I don't like how it's making me feel. And I'm truly just at a point now where I want to be intentional about showing up as the version of myself that I imagine in my head. You feel me? So I don't know where I was going with that. That's not what this episode is about though. I spoke about that already in a previous episode, but I just thought about it. It just came to me. The reason why I kind of wanted to just revisit that is because after that episode, I'm like, okay, what is episode 9 going to be about? And at first, I was going to make this episode about, guarding your heart and being intentional about what you're allowing, in your mind, being intentional and mindful about what you're consuming as far as, what you're listening to and what you're watching and, just being intentional about, guarding your spirit, right? Because I felt like, that made sense to, have as a point building upon that. But I think I'm going to wait to talk about that. And God is really pushing me to make this episode about being more present and being content with where you are. And what I mean by that is where you are like physically in life as far as what you have to show for it. but also where you are as far as where you are in your personal growing. I don't even know what the hell I just said. What the heck I just said. Excuse me. Because I told y'all I also want to stop cussing. And I still was cussing after that episode. But literally every time I've cussed, I've caught myself. What was I saying? Oh, with that. And I know I said I want to be, more ladylike. And I'm not being ladylike eating these sunflower seeds on this mic. But I bought these sunflower seeds for the promo video. For the launch of the pod. And sunflower seeds is cool. But I don't really eat them like that. I just bought them for the promo video. And I don't want to waste them. So they just been sitting around. I'm like, you know what? I'm about to eat them on the pod. So, ghetto SMR. Y'all about to hear me eating these sunflower seeds. I'm sorry. But, as I was saying, God has been dealing with me as far as being content with where I am. Like, physically in life, as far as current circumstances and what I have to show for in my life. But also, too, being content with where I am as far as my personal journey. As far as like internal growth, right? And that's something God has been dealing with me with. God has been dealing with me on. Jesus, I cannot talk. God has been dealing with me about that because although I have a lot to be grateful for, and for the most part, I'm content with where I am, I'm a very anxious person. And I worry a lot about my future. Not because I don't trust God to, work things out, and not saying that I don't, believe that, every goal that I have and, things of that nature. Not saying that I don't believe that all of that is going to work out, but because I'm always just so focused on getting to what's next. What's next as far as, again, things that I have to show for in my life, but also too improving as a person. Me growing and healing and evolving as a person is so important to me. And I'm proud of myself because I've recognized ways in which I've grown as a person. But at the same time, I still have a lot of shame around certain aspects of myself. And I have shame about the fact that my past still influences my present as much as it does. And I try not to dwell too much on my past. That's not somewhere that I want to stay, especially in comparison to my life right now. Like, where I currently am in life and who I currently am is a major difference in comparison to my past. I don't want to go back to my past. I am not one of those people. I know there's people out there who they're just so wrapped up and focused on their past that they feel as if that's as good as things can get. I'm not one of those people. I'm more so the person who, is grateful for their past, shaping them into who they are today and helping them get to where they are right now. But I know that I'm not content with who I currently am and where I currently am. I'm anxious as far as being a even better version of myself. I'm anxious about being in a even better situation because I'm not 110% content with who I currently am and where I currently am. And I don't think not being content with who you currently are and where you currently are is a bad thing. I don't think any of us should be too content with who we are and where we are because we should want more for ourselves. We should want better for ourselves. We should never get too comfortable with where we are. But it becomes an issue when what's next and a better version of yourself is what you're focused on more than the now. Being where you currently are is such a gift. And before continuing on with my thought, I had to switch out the battery to the camera, transparency. So I'm trying to find my thought. I'm not the type of person to dwell too much on the past. I'm more so the type of person who's anxious about reaching what's next. And what I mean by that is not being in the current season of my life that I'm in and not being the current version of myself that I am. And with both of those things, that's because I want better and I want more for myself. But the issue with that is we should never be anxious about or for anything. And I came on this mic for this episode knowing exactly what I wanted to talk about. So I do have notes, but my notes are literally just scriptures. And a scripture that I wrote down for that point is Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Being where you currently are is such a gift. And I know it's cliche to say, oh, the present is a present. That's why it's called the present. But literally, you can't go back to the past. You can't change anything in your past. What has already happened has happened. You would not have the current moment that you have if it was not for your past. Every situation that you've gone through has led you to the exact moment that you're in right now. And the wisdom that you currently have is wisdom that you would not have if it wasn't for the past situations that you went through, right? So, in a sense, I'm very grateful and appreciative of my past. But at the same time, I know that where I currently am is not where, one, I'm going to stay. But it's also, two, not a place that I want to stay in, right? I always want more for myself. And by more, I mean I want to have more to show for in my life. And I want to be a more elevated version of myself always. I'm very proud of the growth that I've had so far. But knowing that there's still certain habits of mine that I've yet to be able to shake, and knowing that my past still influences my present as much as it does. And what I mean by that is not people from my past coming back and I'm entertaining them, or me going back to past situations, but me knowing that for so long, for so many years of my life, I've been living in survival mode. And so now I'm at a point in my life now where I'm realizing I don't still have to live my life like that. But at the end of the day, trauma still alters your brain in a way where even when I want to show up as a more healthy, a more healed version of myself, there's still subconscious programming that I'm still working through. And it's super prevalent now that I'm in a relationship, and a healthy one at that. It's once you're in a relationship with someone else, you're truly able to see wow, this is how my childhood is still impacting who I am today. And there's a lot of shame around that, at least for me. I don't think there should be shame around that. So I'm not telling y'all to have shame, but I'm just speaking for myself. I have shame around the fact that my past influences who I currently am today as much as it does. There's so much programming that I need to undo. There's so much reparenting that I need to do. And I'm just the type of person, I just wish that I had it all figured out. Like, just at the snap of a finger. I wish that I was just this super healed and healthy version of myself, not only for myself, but for other people. And that's not realistic. And because that's not realistic, I'm learning how to give myself grace. But it's super difficult learning how to give myself grace because I've never seen that modeled. I spent so long in survival mode because while in that space, people rarely ever gave me grace. I'm not going to say nobody gave me grace, but from what I remember most, people who I felt should have given me grace did not give me grace. So because that was not given to me and that was not modeled to me, it's difficult for me to, one, give myself grace, but to also give others grace. But I'm so thankful to be in a relationship right now where my person is giving me grace. And I'm grateful to have that now be modeled to me. And not saying that God doesn't give me grace. So, of course, that's a way that it already has been, modeled to me. And I'm grateful for my relationship with God. But my person giving me grace is something that I'm super grateful for because it can be very discouraging sometimes knowing that you still have so much to heal and work on. And because you know that, it's discouraging sometimes, feeling as if because you have so much to heal and to work on, you aren't deserving of a relationship, or that you wouldn't be able to have a relationship, or one that's healthy and one that lasts, right? And for the longest, I was one of those people who I was like, I know I need to heal this and I need to work on this before, I get into a relationship and but the fact of the matter is you'll never be 100% healed. And I feel like my thoughts are all over the place right now. And that's very discouraging too, because I know exactly what I want to talk about. But I really just want to get the point of honoring your now across. That's the point that I really want to get across. God has really been dealing with me as far as being content with where I currently am. Because the fact of the matter is, everything that I'm trying to anxiously obtain, as long as I continue to build upon the foundation that I currently have in the way in which I've been building upon it, I'm going to get there. But it's not going to happen overnight. But when I really stop and think about it, I don't even want it to happen overnight. I don't. I'm grateful for the journey. I'm not always grateful for the journey, of course, because I'm like, it be feeling like it be dragging. Like, all right, God, you have me in this current season, but I know that this is not, you know what I'm saying? I know that this is not my stopping point. I know that I'm just passing through this season. But sometimes I get so frustrated because I'm like, all right, I'm learning how to appreciate the current season that I'm in. But because I know that this is not where I want to be, and I know that this is not where you're going to end up having me, it's like, all right, where are we going with this, you know? And the thing about it is, when I reflect on my past, it's so crazy. Like, thinking about past situations and past seasons, like, oh my God, like, I feel like this is going to be forever, and I feel like this is never going to end. Of course, I knew it was going to end at some point, but, like, it's just very trippy, like, reflecting on your past. Like, wow. I vividly remember being in that season of my life, not seeing an end to it. I knew that there was going to be an end, but at that time, like, I couldn't see past it. Now I'm past it, and I'm looking back on it, right? And so even the season that I'm currently in, there's going to be a point in time where I look back the current season that I'm in, like, wow. That wasn't nothing. I was sitting there boo-hoo crying in that season. And now look, I'm past it. It's behind me. And so God has really just been reminding me to just be content with where I am, because although time feels as if it's dragging sometimes, or, you know, time is constantly moving, but the season that I'm currently in has not changed. Although that's what life feels like sometimes, I promise you, it's going to be over in the blink of an eye. And I don't want to be that person who is anxiously trying to reach what's next, that once everything is all said and done, I'm looking back on everything and I'm like, wow, I didn't even take the time to stop and smell the roses. I didn't even take the time to truly appreciate the journey and appreciate where I was in each season. You know, I never want to be that person that's waiting for Friday, waiting for the weekend, or I'll be happy when I reach this point, or this point, or that point. Because then once you reach that, there's always going to be something next. The goalpost is going to continue to move, right? And I know this. I know this. But sometimes, because life just be lifing, I just be like, God, I know that this is not going to be forever, but I'm really tired of waking up every day, showing up to this job. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful to have a job because it's paying my bills. And, you know, I try to reframe my mind, like, instead of saying, I have to do this, I try to reframe my mind and say, I get to do this. And cheat code, I low-key be looking at going to work like showing up to do community service. A lot of the times, that's how I get through the workday. And I show up every morning. If I look at me going to work as me doing community service for that day, 9 times out of 10, I have a pretty good day. But it's like, God, whether it's the music, whether it's the podcast, whether it's something else that you have not yet led me to, please let one of these things change my life and put me in a better position. And God, you know my heart and you know my mind. You know that I'm not itching to be rich for the wrong reasons. I just want financial freedom. I just want to be able to make an impact in a way where I know that what I'm doing is worthwhile. And it's not only worthwhile because people are telling me, like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of your music. If it's not paying my bills, it's only penetrating me so much. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know that I have a gift for music. I know that my music touches people. But at the end of the day, music is not paying my bills right now. And it's like, I try to be patient. And it's like, okay, I know that I'm planting the seeds. I know what I'm sowing. I know what I'm watering. But it's like, sometimes I just be so ready to just like see the fruits of my labor. It's like, God, maybe the labor would be more enjoyable if I was basking in the fruits, right? It's like, I'm tired of just doing labor and not seeing any fruits from it. I'm tired of showing up every day, doing things that I really would rather not do, and just being expected to just continue showing up with a smile on my face. That's not realistic. Although I'm very grateful for where I currently am, I'm still human. And realistically, it's like, I know that I'm not where I want to be. I know that I don't have all that I would like to have right now. And I know that I'm not the version of myself that I envision for myself. And sometimes that frustrates me. It frustrates me a lot. But God has really just been having me in this season of really just making me be more present. Like, God has intentionally been putting me through situations that's been forcing me to slow down and to be more present. Literally, like physically being sick on bed rest. Like, God has continuously been putting me in these situations where God is like, yo, Matthew 6:34. Let me worry about tomorrow. I just need you to worry about today. You focused on what you got to do tomorrow, next weekend, next month. What are you anxious for? Yes, there's still aspects within yourself that I want to heal, but it takes time. And it's like, I know these things take time, but it's still just very frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. But where I currently am, I'm grateful for. I really am. And I just think in general, not even just speaking to myself, but speaking to everyone tuning in, really realize how being where you currently are is a sweet spot. The present is a sweet spot because you aren't where you used to be and you aren't who you used to be, but you also haven't seen what's to come. You also aren't the person that you will be yet. And you know, we all hear the phrase, you know, your life can change in 1 year. Baby, your life can change tomorrow. Really, you know what I'm saying? But if you don't appreciate the now, it won't even matter. But the present is also a sweet spot because although you have control over the future, you don't really have control over it because it hasn't came yet. And life is going to continue to unfold the way it's meant to, especially if you believe in God and you know that God already has things written for you, right? And of course, the past, like, it's done, it's over with, it's in the past. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the present is a sweet spot to be in because that's literally what you have control over. And I know with me, I struggle with issues of control. It's like I want to be in control of every little thing. In reality, I don't, because I would love to just rest and not be in control of everything. But it's like I don't know. Maybe it's because of, the fact that I've been in survival mode so long. I don't know what it is, but although I really would not like to exert more energy than I would like to, there's still a part of me that wants to be in control of everything. And I hate that for myself because I don't truly want to be in control of everything. But in the same way, I do. But me trying to be in control of everything is literally disrespect to God because God is in control of everything, right? But the present is a sweet spot because as I want to have control over so much, God is literally giving me the present moment to be in control over, but I'm still choosing to not even be in control over it because I'm too busy focused on what's to come, which is something that I don't have control over. It's like, yeah, I have control over the future to an extent because what I do with my present moments is, planting the seeds for, what's to come. It's like if you say that, a month from now, a year from now, whatever, if you say you want your future to look a particular way, but you aren't planting the seeds in your present moments for your future to look like that, baby, time is just going to continue to pass. You're not just going to magically pop up there just because time passed. You're going to get there based off of the seeds that you're sowing now, right? So it's like the present literally is a present. It's something that we should really be more grateful for because you aren't going to get back the time that you currently have. But also, the time that you currently have is literally the time that you have to be in control. And it really just makes no sense to want to try and be in control of everything, but you aren't even attempting to be in control of your present because you're so busy focused on either the past or what's to come. And that's something that God has really been like working with me on. But with that said, and I'm going to wrap this episode up. Another scripture I wrote down in my notes is Psalms 118 and 24. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you grew up in church or if you've just heard scriptures before, I feel like that's a scripture we've all had. We all have heard before. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I also think that they've put that in a song. I'm not sure. Pretty sure they have. A lot of songs, especially gospel songs, are, scripture based. But with that said, like literally just have more gratitude for each day that you're given. There's somebody that didn't wake up today. And not because they was on bed rest or they knew that their time was coming. Of course, there's people out there like that who, didn't get to see today. But there's people out here like you and I who have plans for the future, who are doing the work. And in a blink of an eye, their time can be cut short and their life can be robbed of them. There's someone who literally was working on something and working towards something and they did not wake up today. Be grateful for today. And if you get to see tomorrow, literally take the time out of your morning to really stop and be grateful. And really take the time throughout your day to continue to be grateful for your day. Because I feel like sometimes, even when you do wake up in the morning and you do have that time to yourself, if you aren't, rushing in the morning, even throughout the day, we can be so busy doing other things. But even if you have to set an alarm on your phone, literally take the time throughout your day to just stop, take a deep breath and be present. Be grateful for every moment that you have, not even just every day, because there's a lot of people who woke up today and they did not see the end of today. Ecclesiastes 3 and 1 through verse 11. And yes, I'm about to read the whole passage, and I'm going to share with y'all something else that God told me to share with y'all. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on a human race. He has made everything beautiful in His name. He has also set eternity in a human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Something specific that God has told me that I'm going to share with y'all is you can't pray your way out of a season that you're in. You can't pray your way through it. You can't fast your way through it. You literally just have to grow and go through it. And that's also why healing is important. The moment you stop running away from yourself and the moment you stop running towards what's to come and what you want to have come into your life, the moment you just stop running, and that's the reason why I chose this vinyl for this episode. The Far Side. I always mess up the title. Lab Cabin, California. Can't keep running away. If you know, you know. I also have a song called Running. It's more than just not running from your past. It's also about not running towards your future. And what I mean by that is we should all just be in a state of flow and a state of ease. What's to come is going to come. The whole grind culture, no sleep. Oh, I'm about to put in all of this work and overwork myself, bruh. That is dead. If I am tired, I am going to sleep. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Being in survival mode, I was a victim. A victim of the whole hustle culture, grind culture. I cannot speak. I was a victim of the whole hustle culture, grind culture, working 2-3 jobs, overworking myself, trying to hurry up and get as much as I can done today, because the sooner I knock these things off of my to-do list, the sooner I feel like I'll be where I'm wanting to be. I was one of those people, and in a way I still am. But God has really been like trying to release the stronghold that has been over me in my life of being in survival mode. I told myself that I want to be in alignment this year, and God has been telling me you cannot be in alignment if you still stuck in survival mode. You cannot be in alignment if you're still trying to be in hustle mode, grind mode. I just need you to rest and flow and be at ease. That's literally what God has been telling me. And with the verses that I just read, it's literally a time and a season for everything. If God is telling you to isolate, to be in hermit mode, to chill out, to rest, let it be that. If God is telling you to pop out and to speak and to share your gifts with the world and to share with the world what you've been working on, do that and don't be afraid. And literally with every episode I'm recording, I'm speaking to myself. Right now, as I'm recording these episodes, God has had me in a season of just preparing. But I know that pretty soon, here in the next few days, God is going to have me in a season of presenting what I've been preparing. And that goes back to that P list that I shared with y'all. What episode was that? Episode 4, Pushing P. It's a time and a season for everything. You cannot rush the season that you're in, because if you do, you're going to miss what you were meant to gain out of the season that you were in. So now you're in the next season and you're wondering why this person betrayed you. You're wondering why this situation fell through. You're wondering why you're repeating the same cycles. That's because you aren't grasping what it is you're meant to grasp in the season that you're currently in. And like I said, you can't pray your way through it. You can't fast your way through it. If that's where God currently has you and wants you, that's what it's going to be. And me and God have literally been having these conversations. Like, right now, this is where I want you. And God has been revealing to me in small ways why I am where I am and why I am the version of myself that I am. But like I said, although I have a lot to be grateful for, if I'm being completely honest, it's difficult being content 110%. Hebrews 13:5. And I only have 3 more scriptures for y'all, including this one. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you." Something specific that God has been dealing with me on is being content with how much I have financially. As long as I have enough to pay my bills, that's enough. Really. As long as I have enough to survive, especially in the economy that we're in right now. Like, let's be for real. As long as I have enough to live and to survive, I'm good. Because a lot of people don't have that. And that's basic, right? That's bare minimum. But because I know I want more for myself, I'm like, God, just living a life where I'm able to just pay my bills is not a life worth living. I want to be able to live. I want to be able to spend my money without guilt. I want to be able to actually enjoy life. I want to actually be able to enjoy the money that I've been working for, right? And that's been my issue with God. It's like, all right, God, you don't want me in survival mode, but at the same time, I feel like I still have to be there because financially, I'm not where I want to be. And you know my heart, you know my mind. I'm not itching to be financially free and, everything like that, so I can just blow all the money that I have. Like, if money was not an issue, I would not be one of these people who is just, spending my money recklessly. I literally have a list of reasons why I need more funds in my life, right? And I really be having these conversations with God, like, God, you know that I want to be able to finance this. You know that I want to be able to invest in this. You know that I also want to be able to do this and this and this and this. But I cannot do these things with a lack of funds. And God is like, I'm going to provide. I'm going to take care of that. Just give me time. But I'm just like, God, if I had all the money now, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and God is just like, I don't want you to be worried about that right now. And I'll just be like, all right. So it's like, that's where my contentment issue lies as well. Because it's like, all right, it's like, I know the money is going to come. It's like, I'm not even like worried too much about when the money is going to come. But I'm just like, God, I literally have a list of things right now in front of me that could literally be taken care of if I had more funds. But it's like, all right, I'm going to do things your way though. Because it's like, it's not like I have a choice, you know? But yeah. Also too, I haven't really spoken too much on it. But at the start of this episode, I said that I wanted to speak on honoring your now, as far as being content with where you currently are and being content with the version you currently are, but also too knowing exactly who you are so that the world and the people within it cannot tell you who you are. And I haven't touched on the latter part of knowing who you are so that the world and the people in it cannot tell you who you are. And I'm still not going to go too deep into it, but really quick, this second to last scripture that I wrote down to share with y'all is 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And that's a point that I really want to make really quick, because as you continue to grow as a person, there's going to be people who don't believe the hype. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the previous episode and, you know, how I'm building upon that episode. As I'm, you know, cutting certain things out of my life, as I'm growing and evolving as a person, it's weird sometimes, like, recognizing my own growth, because it's like, wow, like I vividly remember the version of myself that was cool and content with, you know, certain habits, and cool and content with, you know, thinking a certain way, moving a certain way. And now the version of myself that I am now, it's like, I'm learning how to love those past versions of myself, because those past versions of myself helped me get to the version that I am today. But sometimes I just be having shame and guilt around that, because it's like, wow, like, I wish I had the wisdom that I have now. The wisdom that I have now, I wish I had it then. I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes that I made. I wouldn't have went through a lot of the situations that I went through. But the fact of the matter is I had to go through it in order to get the wisdom that I have now, right? And what's so crazy is I was recently talking to one of my friends. Shout out to Relisha. And she was like, your issue is you want to have it all figured out now. Like, everything that you could heal and work on as a person, like, you want to have it all just like completed now. But it's like, life is a journey for a reason. And I'm like, you're so right. Because that's definitely me. Because even with all the growth that I've had, it's like, I know that there's still growth and work to do. And I know that although I'm proud of the version that I am today, I know that there's going to be a version of myself here soon that's looking at this current version of myself like, wow, baby, you was only scratching the surface, you know? So it's like, that's why I'm anxious. But I also wanted to make the point of, as you continue to grow and evolve as a person, there's going to be people out here trying to hold old versions of you over you. Like, nah, I remember when she used to do X, Y, and Z. I remember when he used to be in these type of situations. There's always going to be people that hold your past against you because they aren't growing. But remember that the people who hold your past against you and try to say that you aren't growing and evolving as a person because of who you used to be, the people who are so fixated on reminding you of who you used to be and where you used to be, remember that those people are only doing that because they're threatened by your growth. They see that you're growing. They see that you're evolving. And now they're threatened and they're feeling some type of way because they're not growing and they're not evolving. But at the end of the day, if you're aware of your own growth, it doesn't matter if anybody else does not see it. If you see it, if you know it, if God sees it, if God knows it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Know exactly who you are so that the world cannot tell you who you are. Even if people are not trying to hold past versions of you up to the current version of you. There's so many influences out here, and that's the reason why I wanted to make this episode originally about guarding your heart and your ears and your mind. There's so many things out here in the world that's trying to influence us, and if you aren't careful, if you don't know who you are going to be easily influenced. But if you know who you are, if you know what you stand on, if you know the foundation that you have, if you know the plants that you have in your garden and you're guarding your garden, you're guarding your heart, your mind, your ears, anything external is not going to affect you. Or if it does, it's not going to affect you in a major way. And that's why knowing who you are is important. Knowing who you are is important so that other people cannot try to hold past versions of you or your life up to you. But also, too, knowing who you are is important so that other people cannot try to influence who you are. Of course, it's okay to have influence. As an artist, I'm influenced by other artists. Of course, there's going to be positive and, good influences out there. But at the end of the day, you can't allow your parents to influence what you go after in life. It's not their life to live. Whether it's your parents, whether it's anybody in your family, whether it's anybody out there in the world, you have to know who you are. Period. And if you're a believer like me, if you read the word like me, there's tons of scriptures that will tell you and reaffirm you of who you are. And when I'm in those low moments where I don't really know who I am right now, I go to those scriptures. I remind myself of who I am because of what I know God has told me. I remind myself of who I am because internally, I know who I am. I know who I am because I know what I've grown from. I recognize my own growth. God sees my own growth. It doesn't matter if no one else sees or is aware of my growth. I'm aware of my growth. And because of that, I know who I am. As I've continued to grow as a person, I've been finding more of who I am. I've been shedding more layers of who I am so that I can get in tune with who I authentically am at the core. You feel me? So, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. The last scripture that I have, and I am out of y'all way with these sunflower seeds, is Philippians 4. Verse 11 and 12. Philippians 4, verse 11 and 12. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. We've all heard that last part. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. This is the last scripture that I wrote down in my notes to sum up and wrap up this episode because it speaks on contentment. Life is going to be full of highs and lows, peaks and valleys. If life was just full of peaks and highs, we wouldn't grow. Life is not meant to be easy. Life is not meant to be handed to us. But if it wasn't for the lows, if it wasn't for the valleys, if it wasn't for the wisdom that we get in those seasons that we would much rather not be in, we wouldn't be able to fully appreciate the peaks and the high seasons. Just like the other scripture that I read, there's literally a time and a place for everything. And that's the beauty of being human. That's the beauty of being alive. That's the beauty of having a human experience in this thing called life. So, if you're in your low seasons, if you're in those seasons that you would much rather not be in, remember, it's not going to last forever. And while you're there, try to find contentment within being there. Try to find things to be grateful for while being there. I've told y'all before, I used to be very depressed, struggling with not only depression and anxiety, but suicidal thoughts. Quite literally did not want to be here. And I came up out of that by finding myself, finding God, and learning how to find things to be grateful for, even in moments that I really felt as if I didn't have much to be grateful for. You have to start looking at the cup half full versus half empty. Being content has a lot to do with your mindset. How easily you're able to pass through certain seasons of your life, especially the ones that you would much rather not be in, has everything to do with your mindset, your mentality. And when you do reach those moments of highs, remember the valleys. Remember those seasons that you weren't too happy to be in, those seasons that you weren't too proud of. And if you're tuning into this pod, especially at this point, episode 9, I'm assuming you believe in God as well. I don't really know how to speak to the people that don't believe in God. If you're, skeptical and you tuning in, hey, I'm hoping that I'm able, to reach you too. But if you're tuning into this pod, I am assuming that you too are a believer in God. However that relationship with God looks like. And I say that to say, even when you get in those moments where, it's a great season, you're on top of the world, you winning, don't forget God, because just as quick as you got there, God can humble you and put you back in those seasons that you would much rather not be in. Honor your now. Honor God in every season that you're in. Recognize that the present is a present, as cliche as it is. And yeah, man. Content is sort of the word for this episode. And my homework assignment for y'all, I wrote, in what areas of your life could you work on being more present? And I also challenge y'all to just be more present. Like I said, in the morning, take the time to just give gratitude. Take the time to reflect on the fact that you were blessed with another day. Take the time to give gratitude for that. And as the day gets to daying and, you're busy and you doing X, Y, and Z. And of course, my camera would cut off literally as I'm wrapping this up. As your day gets to daying and, you're busy throughout the day, literally just still take the time to remind yourself to be more present. That is my homework and my challenge to y'all, as well as myself. This has been episode 9. I hope to see y'all in May and not March with episode 10. And with that said, I love y'all. Be blessed. I'm out.